Hi! I'm back with Anna James. We've just been filming for her book, Pages & Co.
Yay!
Give it a little
Yay!
yay! Which is a middle grade book all about book characters coming to life,
yes,
traveling through books.
Yes.
Check out our previous video, which I'll put a link in the description if you want to see more about that and books for and about book lovers. But we have another passion besides books.
Sounds so strange saying we have a passion.
Maybe not a passion, an interest, an active interest in cults and books about cults. It's a very recent interest for me, as in like I'd never realised I was into it.
Right.
And then I saw a pattern emerging.
Right. And I have always known, I grew up in a pretty intense church, and so it's always something that I've been interested in kind of reading non-fiction about, but also novels. Although I'm like sensitive to it, but when it's done well, it's something I find really interesting. Proviso that some of these are definitely cults. Some of the books we're going to talk about are more like, it's like intense religion, faith.
And sometimes it's families, it's like a bit of a mix, but I think you can kind of loosely classify them under cults. This is a video that I've been promising again that I would make for forever and forever. Yeah, we've been talking about it, people have been asking for it, so the time has come. Let's get started.
Okay, we have got so many
slowly
books.
Like slide it into the video.
So let's start with this one.
Oh my god, this is the best one immediately. This is my favorite, I think, out of all the ones. Well, shared first spot.
This is up there for me.
It's so good.
I just realized my top three are like the top three on the pile, so we have to mix it up. But like this is
Station 11.
Yes.
Not in the majority, like about, not the whole book is about a cult. No. So do you want to do the pitch?
No, you do it. I'm anxious because I haven't read it for ages. I'm anxious that I'm gonna mess it up. Although my boyfriend is reading it at the moment, so I've
been evangelical about it. So I've pitched this to many people, and also I used to talk about this book before I read it, because I loved the idea of it.
I bought it for a lot of people, but I don't really like. I don't think I've like officially done like a elevator pitch for it. So
end of the world. 99% of people have died from this virus. We're 20 years later. You're following this traveling orchestra slash like actor performing group, like performing Shakespeare, going from settlement to settlement because of only like 1% of humanity's left. It's pretty bare. You follow all these different characters. You get a bit of a glimpse from like before. But there's also a cult that is kind of forming in a certain area, and the traveling group of performers come into contact with that cult. How's that?
Yep, great.
I can't remember that much about the cult in this specifically, except that it's like the same sort of like, one guy says he's what, like the chosen one?
Right. And actually, I can't remember all the specifics, but like some of the scenes to do with that are really, really vivid in my memory. And I keep asking, my boyfriend, I'm like, have you got to the bit with the...
And also I think people who don't read post-apocalyptic fiction will also love it. It's quite literary.
I'm not a big post-apocalyptic reader.
I love it.
It's that perfect balance of it's so well written and cleverly structured, but it's really pacey and it's got a proper plot and tension.
And minor cult vibes.
And cult vibes, for sure. Yeah. And I think it's really interesting because it is about like, what is the point of survival? Like, what do we live for? Is survival
and if you rebuild society, how would you rebuild it? What do you focus on? Like, do you care about like around culture and like what keeps people together, or are you like trying to get to power? And because they go from like little settlement to settlement, and some of them are in gas stations and stuff like that, and they come around and they realize that something has changed since the last time they visited that settlement, and that's where the cult is happening. And it's
I think it's just the way that in like extreme situations, the way that people can band around kind of extreme
and any hope as well.
Exactly. So next up is The Water Cure.
So I'm
Sophie McIntosh.
Maybe like a third into this one.
Okay, so I wouldn't do spoilers anyway. This came out just a couple of months ago, and it ticks so many of my book boxes. It's like written in a really like poetic, lyrical kind of weird style.
I found it very Virgin Suicides-y.
Yeah, definitely got that vibe to it. And it's about
the cover as well. Sorry.
Yeah, so beautiful,
so pretty.
So it's about three sisters who it's like a dystopia maybe. Because it's set in an unspecified time and place, and it's about three sisters who live in this remote waterside area. With their, for ages they lived there just with their mother and father. Women have been coming to stay, but that's not happening anymore. And as the book opens, their father has gone away. It's about sisterhood and family. The daughters have been told that basically men are harmful to them and will kill them, and they have to do all these kind of purification rituals.
They do these weird tests and things where like the mom, like they get put into a big bag and then the mom sews the bag to their necks and they have to, this weird stuff.
It's about like ideas of like purifying, and it's really which is interesting because obviously in a lot of churches, you know, there's like that baptism, and it's kind of like this really dark, twisted version of that, really.
So this is more of like a family cult.
Right, and you just, as the book goes on, you kind of learn, you get glimpses of what was going on, and also with the women that used to come, that's quite culty, and you just get these glimpses. It's one of those books where you like build up, you have this
they don't go, and this is the world, and this is what happens.
Right.
It's like you kind of try and figure out.
And there's some questions that don't really get answered, and I don't want to spoil the ending, but I loved the ending.
Next is one of my contenders for definitely, this has to end up in my top 10 of the year, 100%.
This is 100% in my top 10 of the year.
Yeah.
Maybe even, it's battling maybe for my book of the year. And it's Educated by Tara Westover.
So this is a memoir.
Yeah.
And it reads like fiction sometimes because some of it is so bizarre. You interviewed her for the Lush Book Club.
Yeah,
I went along as well, and
one of my favourite Lush Book Clubs.
Loved her. Somehow it was not quite what I was expecting her to be like, but she was incredible to listen to. So this is about Tara growing up in rural Idaho.
Yes.
Idaho with her family. Her dad they're basically like a small, like one family survivalist cult.
Right.
So they're preparing for the end of the world. The dad...
They're also Mormons.
Okay, but she doesn't mention it as much. She sort of says it, and she's like, but also we don't really, don't want to connect it to this as much.
Yeah, because it's separate, but it's interesting. Growing up, as reading as someone who grew up religious, I thought the Mormon thing it's really present for me.
Maybe I just don't know enough about it.
A lot of the family stuff is to do with them being like end of the world survivalists.
Yes.
But there is Mormon stuff in there
There's
too.
a lot of
and
the
it's
sort of like,
interplay
again,
of
like purity, and you're like the other girls and you're talking to boys and you should
and
like that kind
ideas
stuff.
of like what a family should be and what you do as a girl or a boy.
Yes, and like family first. And
Right.
well, a lot of what the dad sort of believes is the sort of paranoid, the government's out to get us, you can't go to the doctor, you know, not getting your kids registered when they get wrong, that kind of stuff, and just wanting to be fully self-sufficient. Then it moves to her going away, leaving her family, going to university.
Yeah.
I thought at that point, I was like, oh, I wonder how that will go. And even that was even more interesting in a way.
Yeah, because I think the first half of the book is almost so like, it's so divorced from anything, like any experience of myself or anybody I know.
She's not in like a context that you understand, and then she meets like other normal people and you're like, oh wow, it's even more bizarre than I
like she has this
going
thing
to
where at
be.
university she causes this controversy because she asks she doesn't know what the Holocaust is,
and everyone thinks she's joking.
They
obviously.
think that she's taking like that she's trying to make a joke about it, but she's just genuinely she's never heard of it. She didn't go to high school, and she basically, her and her brother get her through the exams to get her into university.
And it's a lot of talking about like how much should you believe your parents and how much should you believe what you were told when you were growing up, and it's amazing.
It's incredible. I found it incredibly like cathartic and hopeful read, and it's very much about finding your own path, and when you realise that being true to yourself means that you can't be true to the way that you were brought up, and what do you do with that? So this is The Girls by Emma Cline, which was everywhere when it came out last year.
It was like big summer read as well, which is what I found really interesting.
Okay, so it's inspired by the Manson cult,
which I knew nothing about. I'd never heard it before. I'd never heard about the Manson murders. No idea.
Okay, I didn't know like any of the details, but I was aware like vaguely of what had happened.
I had no idea. Yeah. So I just read this, and then later I was like, maybe I should go to Wikipedia and have a little look about what's going on.
So it's about like teenage girls, and it's about a girl who gets kind of pulled into that. So the main character is completely fictional, but it's like the idea of how those girls might have got caught up in that, and
there are some murders.
Yeah, yes.
These girls.
It's not explicitly the Manson family, is it? Like it's not named.
I don't think so.
But
I can't remember.
Like,
it's been a while.
It's very much like
A lot of what I liked about this book is the setting and the like dry desert, and like these girls wandering around in these like dirty dresses, and there's like little kids wandering around, and it's just I think it paints a really good picture, and it also goes between when the main character is like 30 and then her looking back at what happened.
I think it's so good on teenage femininity and
like
that,
wanting to be friends with, wanting to rebel, and
and also that like when society tells girls that like your value is your sex appeal, then punishes them for using that, which I think is something that's really interesting. And like when you're a teenage girl and you're sort of like aware suddenly that like men are looking at you, and it's disgusting,
Yeah,
but you're told that you should be flattered, and it's like, I think it's just so, it's really incisive on like how weird that is and how messed up we are about that sort of thing as a society.
I find the cover really funny because I feel like it really it makes it look very like commercial, like quite like good summer read. I do find like the girls look more like H&M catalogue models than what I can, because I imagine them to be a lot younger, and maybe a bit more grungy.
Yeah.
But I really love this cover.
If I had read this and there'd been no hype, I think I would have really loved it. I liked so much about it. Actually, the cult stuff actually was probably my, like, I liked all the stuff about women and girls and all of like sisterhood and all of that, and the actual like murdery bits were like kind of, they were fine, but like,
I do feel like it's good intro to cult as well. So I feel like people might read this and then go, ooh. But then for me, this was when I realized that it was like, there is books about cults.
For sure.
Yeah.
Quick pit stop to mention one that neither of us have read, but I would like to read, which is Gather the Daughters by Jenny Melamed.
You've got the paperback. I've got a very different cover. So this is going to be in my video probably. That is, they told me I would like this if I like The Handmaid's Tale. Okay. Which this is one of the ones that was pitched like that.
Yeah, I'm really interested to read this one, and there's no real, you know, it's just one of those books that there's no real reason I haven't read it. And actually the hardback was more in line with this one, wasn't it?
Yeah.
This is a book that came out a while ago, maybe 5 years ago, the first book of Calamity, Leek, which I read ages ago, and it's real culty.
Is it YA or is it?
No, it's not. It's like a group of girls in this like secluded kind of garden that are told that they're being trained to like defeat the demon males. It's got quite like a fancy edge, and I did actually think sometimes it pushed too far into that, and it made it seem like less sinister and a bit like silly. It's clever because it's basically cutting between that and the girl who is the most convinced after they've been rescued. Not focusing on someone who's glad to get out, but someone who's like still, she's been rescued but she doesn't think she's been rescued.
Have you read any cult books about boys?
Not in the same way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like that's interesting. Like cults are to do with power.
Yeah.
And gender, a lot of gender stuff is to do with power. And I think that that's probably...
It's like quite an like easy dynamic to explore and like...
Right. Yeah. And like, you know, historically the patriarchy, it has been men telling
there
women.
is definitely a lot of cults that involve the men kind of being like, yeah, we're just living a chill life, and then the women having to...
And a lot of it comes from bastardized versions of religion.
Right.
So, like, they take, like, that kind of... a patriarchal kind of... You know, men are the head of the family and women are, like, caregivers or whatever. And, like, which is quite present in a lot of mainstream religion. And then cults take that to, like, an extreme. I think that's where that comes from as well, because a lot of it is very like that, like very distinct gender roles. So
this is maybe one of the first cult books I read. Vivian Vs the Apocalypse. This is a book that was published by Hotkey. When I started working there, that was one of the first books that I read, and I was like, I love this book. And I worked with the author a lot as well. So I've also pitched this book so many times. And you haven't read it yet?
No, I haven't read it.
So this is basically the story of Vivian. She's living at a time not dissimilar to our current time. There's more and more like tornadoes and tsunamis and like natural disasters. People are panicking. There's this big Church of America, which is one of those like super churches that is gotten a bit out of hand and gotten really, really big, and more people, like you can slowly see it like becoming really, really big. And the leader of that actually says that they're preparing for a rapture. And it starts on the day, or like the day after the supposed rapture. Vivian's been to like a mock rapture party, but her parents are part of that church, I think. It's been ages since I read this. And when she comes home the next morning, there's 2 holes in the ceiling and her parents are gone. And hundreds of people across the US have disappeared. And she goes on a road trip to try and figure out what's happened.
I want to read this.
But when you're reading this, you keep going, is this real? Is it not real?
I like that.
And it's one of my favorite bits is like reading about how that Church of America, how they've like infiltrated into everything, because they sell like hiking gear and they do like magazines for teenage girls. But also the world is slowly kind of spinning out of control, because then people go, okay, well this obviously something happened, all these people have disappeared. And then there's an announcement about, well, maybe you can get on board with the second rapture.
You've sold this really well.
It's
great. You've talked about that a lot.
It's a duology, but it's also just like a good YA like road trip.
Amazing. Okay, can I borrow it?
Love this cover. Yeah, you can. Thanks. There you go.
So this is You Too Can Have a Body Like Mine by Alexandra Kleeman. Now this is like, it's got a bit of slightly bizarre publishing history. Maybe published or nearly published by Melville House in the UK, and then it didn't, or it was like a tiny print run, and then Fourth Estate published it like properly.
And I think I have a proof copy somewhere.
This kind of, I got sent this by Melville House and I read it, and then I just never heard anything about it ever again until Fourth Estate published it. Anyway, so this
you
is
can
like,
buy it now.
This cover though it doesn't look anything like this. It reminded me a bit of Miranda July, which actually I've just like been flicking through this to remind myself the details, and I've written in the front The First Bad Man by Miranda July and The Heart Goes Last, which was Margaret Atwood's like mad dystopian book.
Okay.
It could be today.
Okay.
It's New York, I think. So it's a woman who we know as A, and she lives with Victoria Miranda. She has a roommate B and her boyfriend C.
Yeah.
And that's how we know them. And it's like kind of starts off like that, and it's like kind of New York, like quirky millennials, whatever. They keep seeing all these commercials for this like chocolate bar energy thing. And she like gets really like disillusioned with like life and consumerism, and she gets sucked into this mad,
it's like a pyramid scheme.
No, like it's very weird. Like they all wear ghost costumes, and it's all about like diet culture and food and bodies, and the book is basically like a kind of takedown of like consumerism and diet culture. And
okay, I'm gonna try and dig up my proof copy.
It is weird.
Yeah,
like it's a weird book, but I loved it, and it's just really, it refuses to kind of do what you expect.
Okay.
And it's hard to classify.
Two last quick mentions.
Right, which are sorry, these are kind of like half gods, because this is very much like it's religion.
Yeah.
But it's like intense religion. So
I haven't read these yet.
Things Bright and Beautiful by Ambar Islam, which I loved so much. It's about a young couple of missionaries who go to the South Pacific. Everything kind of goes mad straight away.
Yeah.
And like, you know, in the very first, it's like one of those ones a bit like The Secret History, where in the first chapter it finishes with you telling that the husband has done something terrible.
Okay.
And I really like it when authors can pull that off, so you know you're building to that. And it's about gender and faith and like the extremities of that, and when it all goes wrong. And is it
set in like a tropical climate? Because like from the cover, there's spiders on the cover, which I hate.
But
the rest of the cover is beautiful.
Yeah. It's set in the 50s.
Okay.
And it's just really, it's really well written, and it's again got a really good ending. Yeah. This makes a really good reading pair with The Water Cure. Lots of
I'll do it. Okay, I'll read it after The Water Cure.
And then my last pick is In a Land of Paper Gods, which
I've never heard of this before.
This deserved to get so much more attention. It came out not last year but the year before, and it's very much about church. It's about a girl who is sent to live at a boarding school in the Chinese mountains in the 1940s because her parents are Christian missionaries in China. This is the missionary section of the video. So she goes to this like tiny church for kids of missionaries. Okay. And they just like, it's again about girls in a small community, and things go awry because of the way they internalize the beliefs, like what they're being taught. Yes. And it's just about like how faith can have a negative or a positive impact on you, and what you do with your identity when you realise that it's not wrong, but like the world is different to how you've been told it is. Okay. It's beautifully written, and it's
it very like literary as well?
No, it's not super literary. And it goes through to the girl being like a teenager, and it also starts to wear the impact of the war, because her parents, like, she doesn't know what happens to her parents.
Yeah. Well, so if you're into cults,
so many cults of different types.
Here's what we recommend you read, and here's some of what we'll be reading. I'm so glad we finally did this.
Yeah, so many books. I was like, I'm not sure I've got enough, and then I was looking at my shelves and I was like,
there's even more. There's more that we still want to read. Yeah. Maybe we'll do a part 2 of this. In the comments, please leave any books that you might have read about cults. Also, maybe non-fiction. I recently read I'll Be Gone in the Dark, which is like my first true crime.
I can't hack that book. I don't want to. I know, like, I can't hack it. It will.
Is it too?
I find non-fiction hard with like, because like just because of the whole religious childhood, I like get nervous about it. I prefer it to be made up.
That one is serial killer, but I haven't read any like true crime about cults yet, so I'm interested in that as well. Have you watched? You might not have watched that then. Wild Wild Country on Netflix. No. Yeah.
Also, oh my goodness, I'm gonna really awkwardly and squeakily turn around because I've just remembered. Anyway, you know Miriam Toews, who wrote All My Puny Sorrows, which was like a big, I feel like a lot of people loved it. She has a book coming out imminently. I Like the Girls. It's like a fictionalized version.
Can you find it?
Yes.
1 second. If you ever wanted to like covet a shelf, this is the shelf, because Anna's a book journalist as well, and so she gets sent so many incredible books. This is the shelf of everyone's dreams.
Well, one of the books on there that I just remembered is this, which is Women Talking by Miriam Toews, which she wrote All My Puny Sorrows. And this is, so between 2005 and 2009, in a remote religious Mennonite colony, over 100 girls and women were knocked unconscious and raped repeatedly by what many thought were ghosts or demons.
Wow.
Their accounts were dismissed as wild female imagination.
Okay.
Women Talking is an imagined response to these real events.
Some light reading to follow
yes,
up
but
with.
definitely sounds like it could go on this pile.
We hope you also share our enthusiasm about these books. They're so fascinating. They're so tricky to recommend sometimes because it's not like, oh, this is a really fun book you should read. But it is very interesting. I think it fascinates a lot of people. So yeah, that's it. I will put links to all of these books in the description, alongside with Anna's lovely book, Pages & Co., which is not related to cults in any way.
No cults.
Just lovely book-loving fantasies and
book characters.
Anna has a YouTube channel as well. I'll put a link to that in the description. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you soon. Doei!